And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency, because what looks like a very interesting and somewhat exotic effort to literally mine new coins in order to trade with them has the potential for undermining currencies, for undermining the role of the dollar as the reserve currency, for destabilizing nations, perhaps starting with small ones, but going much larger. So when we think about this new environment in which we find ourselves that we've been discussing for the last some minutes,
the number one principle of that is decentralization. So you don't get cults of personality, you don't get dictators, totalitarianism, you don't get takeover. And it's resilient. No matter how hard you hit that system, it survives. It keeps going. It keeps pushing through. Wasn't too long ago that all of this was just on paper. Now there's 2 million people. That's an army.
And how they maximize their own interests in the midst of this very clear and growing competition
of propaganda. I tell you, no amount of money in the world is worth the amount of abuse and punishment one takes as a cryptocurrency founder. The monetary policy has to just change on a whim. You got to wake up. Again and again, that's what we do. And again and again and again, that's what we do. You have to ignore the madness of the crowds, and you just have to get it done.
Some of them, are more technical, and whether or not you would take it all off or you would modify them. But I know that that's going on. I know that there is an ongoing process as we speak.
You got to wake up.
But this could be a direct threat to sovereignty. So while we're talking about making decisions and trying to be strategic and building alliances, there's a whole new layer of activity that could be extremely destabilizing, and in the wrong hands or in alliances with the wrong people, could be direct threats to me.
They just babble and babble and babble and babble. They just babble and babble and babble and babble. What is the nature of money? What makes good money versus bad money? Are you completely certain and comfortable that the economy that you live within, whether it's the US economy or the European economies or the Chinese economy?
I would predict that there will be some changes, but they will not all disappear. Some of them, are more technical, and whether or not you would take it all off or you would modify them. But I know that that's going on. I know that there is an ongoing process as we speak.
What's the point of all of it? Because let's say you've succumbed to the cynicism and you now honestly believe that the world is jaded and broken and everybody's out for themselves. The money you seek to make in this space is going to evaporate faster than you can imagine, or just be taken from you. Why not? Civil asset forfeiture has been enshrined in the law, and digital currencies are coming at the CBDC level. What's to stop the government from any given time just pushing a button, taking your money from you? You've already admitted that there are no heroes, there's no truth, there's no objective reality, there's no constitutional rights anymore. There's always the exception to the rule. 2 years ago, it was absolutely inconceivable that a mass hysteria could take over a nation state and remove the freedom of religion, the freedom of assembly, and give us arbitrary rules that we all just somehow have to follow, and half of America hates the other half for following them. Now that's the reality we live in.
This could be a direct threat to sovereignty. So while we're talking about making decisions and trying to be strategic and building alliances, there's a whole new layer of activity that could be extremely destabilizing, and in the wrong hands or in alliances with the wrong people, could be because some of them in this new reality we're living in may well be continued.
No one seems to ever talk about that. All those babbling heads on YouTube, all these
through networks of non-state actors. He has a very large mercenary force that has been operating,
just spraying diarrhea out of their mouths.
He has a very large stable of hackers and those who deal in disinformation and cyber warfare, both in and outside of the government. He's engaged in a lot of asymmetric power moves. And I think one of the areas that nation states have got to pay greater attention to is the rise of these asymmetric power centers. Some of them operate either with the approval or even in full cooperation with state actors.
You know, and just lately it's become so remarkably toxic. And lately it's become so irrational. An army of scientists were brought together. It's not a graveyard of PhDs. They're at the top of their field. They're offered tenure. People call them on a regular basis, try to get them to lead their blockchain groups. It's the top research in the entire industry. The best papers in the entire industry by citation count and relevance. People at the top of their game came together, an army of scientists, an army of engineers came together, a giant community came together. And that community has enabled Cardano to grow to such a scale that it's a self-sustaining ecosystem.
Some of them are independent, but we're going to be facing increasing challenges. The way that technology has developed, the incredible use of disinformation in the political sphere and the economic sphere is only going to get worse. The rise of artificial intelligence is going to threaten nation states.
Your infrastructure on infrastructure, your infrastructure on infrastructure, diarrhea out of their mouths. Just attack and attack and attack. Cardano as a project, if you take the industry aside for a moment and you take a look at all the things that have been achieved in this project, you got to push forward and you have to ignore the critics and the noise.
Because with his oligarchic coterie, he has utilized many non-state actors to pursue personal as well as nationalistic goals. And I think that's going to become a greater and greater threat. And it appears as though outside technology payment systems like the cryptocurrency development.
Existing research that we have is just implement it, roll it out. You have all these fucking parallel teams every day working hard. You see the code, you see the upgrades, but then every single person in these babbling head YouTube shows.
Direct threats to many of our nation states and certainly to the global currency markets. Direct threats to
But it doesn't matter. We live in a post-truth economy now where people just say stuff. Well, nobody I've talked to is investing in that ecosystem. Always. There's always someone lying to you. There's always cynicism. There's always more to the story instead of the rest of the story. And that's sad.
Direct threats to
And who are the heroes? People doing the work or the babbling heads on YouTube, just spraying diarrhea out of their mouths, accused us of being affiliated with organized crime. And you have to use your brain and think, and you have to ask yourself, why are you here? They just babble and babble and babble and babble. Not talking about Hydra, not talking about side chains, not talking about new research, talking about new research, talking about new research, talking about new research. They call it a unicorn. Wow, that's an incredible accomplishment. Being a unicorn means nothing. Being a unicorn means nothing. If it wasn't believed and taken, whole should sail. Guys, the point of the cryptocurrency space is we stand at the edge of a new reality. We stand at the edge of a new reality, of a new reality, of a new reality. Oh, but we're not that. Well, then fucking prove it. Write the goddamn papers down. Oh, but we're not that. Well, then fucking prove it. Write the goddamn papers down. Well, then fucking prove it. Write the goddamn papers down. Well, then fucking prove it. Well, then fucking prove it. Burn tokens now. Destroy your tokens so that I can get an extra 5 or 10% and then dump it. Well, then fucking prove it. Burn tokens now. Destroy your tokens so that I can get an extra 5 or 10% and then dump it. Nothing should require any hard work. How I feel matters more than reality. What you say doesn't matter because, I have to make money now, right? Basic things. Basic things. Basic things. There's no magic to this, guys. There are no betters who decide things and lord over us. Yeah, that's hard to get to because the legacy doesn't really want to give up. But you know what? What else are you going to do? Go to work? I mean, what else? What's the point? I guess you just play video games all day, take drugs, watch movies, get lost in the lives of celebrities. It's so fucking fast. It's so fucking fast. Take drugs. It's so fucking fast. It's so fucking fast. Take drugs. Take drugs. It's so fucking fast.